This episode is brought to you by Humble Love Magnesium Cream. Great for sleep, stress, and pain. Last episode, we introduced a new series we hope will be helpful to you in your pursuit of faith and fruitfulness in the duties God has put before you. In this series, entitled On Being Human, we'll be working through 4 parts of what it means to be human. 4 areas of life where a man or a woman can pursue excellence, fruitfulness, virtue, and honor to God's glory. The physical, the spiritual, the social, and the vocational. In the physical, we'll be talking about the body, physical fitness, nutrition, appearance, and generally taking care of ourselves in such a way as to be able to do our duties in the body with joy. In the spiritual, we'll talk about personal piety and virtue, spiritual disciplines, and the whole-souled pursuit of the life of faith. In the social, we'll talk about social graces, emotional aptitude, friendliness, hospitality, and more. Really the art and science of being a normal and likable person who is not super weird and awkward. In the vocational, we'll talk about achievement, pursuing excellence in your work, whatever it is that God has put in front of you. In that introductory episode, we worked through some principles that apply to the pursuit of excellence in all of these aspects of life, as well as some different ditches to avoid. Now we'll jump in with that first category, the physical, talking about the body. Our thesis in this episode is simple. Christians ought to exercise discipline in seeking bodily strength, health, and beauty for God's glory and the good of their people. As Christians, we confess against the Gnostics that the body is not an evil. It is, in fact, a profound good. The body was made by God, for God, and fitted for the ends God appointed for us. Our bodies are not prisons that our souls seek to escape. No, even after they sow our perishable bodies in the ground in death and they return to dust, they will not do so forever. God will raise us up to immortality, clothed in glorified bodies. On the other hand, as Christians, we also confess against the materialists. We're not mere animals. We're not just a bundle of appetites and genes seeking to replicate themselves. We are embodied souls. We must therefore rule over the appetites of our bodies, making them obey the Lord Jesus Christ. As Christians, we also confess against the spirit of the age, which would have us worship our bodies, sell them as sexual commodities on the marketplace of attention. The priests of this spirit would have us forget that we are mortal, that we bloom in soil touched by the curse. They would have us forget that we will not remain forever young. Our goal is not to cling to our youth, counting every wrinkle and gray hair as an enemy. Rather, our bodies are to be poured out, used up, and given away for the sake of our Lord and our people. In this episode, we'll seek to walk the narrow way between all the perils when it comes to the body, laying out those things which are good to desire and pursue in the body, and yet warning against the ways in which sin, in all its deceptive skill, would seek to lure us off into the miry bogs of either laziness and profligacy on one side, or self-worship, health anxiety, and vanity on the other.
So we do not lose heart. Though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. 2 Corinthians 4:16. Welcome back to Bright Hearth, everybody. Lexy and Brian are here again, talking about... What are we talking about, Brian?
The body. We're talking about the bod.
The bod.
Everybody what they wanted when they woke up and they saw on their Bright Hearth feed, new episode from Bright Hearth. They said, great. I hope it's Brian talking about his body, which is not what, to be clear, not what this episode is going to be about.
I'll refrain from further comment.
Yeah.
For everyone's benefit.
I know you're into it, but it takes all sorts. Now, we are glad to be back here with another morning episode, settling into this new Bright Hearth recording schedule. So far, I'm liking it. I feel sharper. What about you?
Yeah.
Liking it?
Yeah. I'm happy to have a dedicated slot of time to not be thinking about it. If I don't have, this is how my brain works. If I don't have time slots for things, I just feel guilty all the time about not getting to it.
You would.
Anyways.
You would. You absolutely would. Well, Lexy just recorded, or just released, rather, not, I think like last week or something like that, a little In the Kitchen episode on something we touched on in the last episode. We were talking about principles for this whole series, and one of them is just having hard conversations, telling the truth in love to one another. And so Lexy recorded a brief little in the kitchen on how to have a hard conversation like that with a friend, how to have one of those small, hard conversations instead of letting things build up and then like end a relationship ending blow up 2 years into the annoyance or something like that. And you can get that if you support us on any level at Patreon. If you like the show, if you like what we're doing here on Bright Hearth, definitely check that out. There's a link in the description, just patreon.com/brighthearth. And you can help us keep this show going and hopefully make it better and better. If you also want another way of supporting the show, you can pick up Lexy's book. And also, it's just a great book, Wisdom on Her Tongue, at newchristendompress.com/wisdom. And there is a code on that page. I think it's bulk15, all caps, bulk15, that if you order 5 copies or more, like if you want to do a small group study or, buy it for some ladies in your life, then you get 15% off, and it's free shipping on the book anywhere in North America or anywhere in the continental United States. So definitely pick that up. Have you heard any more feedback about the book?
I don't even remember what I've told you. So
just hit us.
No, not anything specific. I mean, no.
I've seen a bunch of reviews on Goodreads that are have been thankful for how practical it is.
Okay.
So that's been good to see, because we really try to make everything we do at New Christendom like not just theory, but actually have some handles on it and be practical.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, here's our plan for this episode. You ready for our plan?
You're the man with the plan.
I know you know it. You guys probably know this, but Lexy does not want to know the plan for an episode ahead of time, and almost plugs her ears and starts humming if I try to tell her the plan.
I feel like I'm faking the whole thing. I'm like, we already talked about this. Now it's awkward to talk about it again. Can they feel the awkwardness?
Lexy is not what you'd call like an influencer.
I bet if we went through how we both wrote books differently, you would be horrified.
No.
Yes.
Not me. No, I know you're my special snowflake. And I love you just how you are. It is funny. Lexy likes the outline to be a surprise, where she comes around the corner and she's like, whoa, that's what we're talking about. This is going to be. So just know that, guys. Everything Lexy says on Bright Hearth.
He's trying to work with my disposition. Not everything. I'm better than I used to be.
No, you're great.
Okay. Even last night I was like, hey, wait, before you tell me this, I need to go write down the stack of books I need beside me while we record.
I'm complimenting you because it means that you didn't have to like memorize a script. These are things that you actually.
Could you imagine me memorizing a script?
No, it wouldn't work. I mean, it just wouldn't work. It wouldn't be there. In this episode, we're going to justify that thesis. I'll remind you again of that thesis. We're going to justify that thesis, talk about the different parts of it. And then next episode, we'll get practical on the how. And that might be more than one episode. But this one's more like, here's what we were trying to say about the body in pursuing excellence in the body, in thinking rightly about the body. And then the super practical how-to sort of stuff will follow in the episodes after this one. So here is the thesis. Let me remind our listeners. Christians ought to exercise discipline in seeking bodily strength, health, and beauty for God's glory and the good of their people. Say it one more time. Christians ought to exercise discipline in seeking bodily strength, health, and beauty for God's glory and the good of their people. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Excellent. Penelope keeps, every time I start talking, turns away from nursing and
Sissy Daddy.
There's
that handsome voice.
Tries to make eye contact with me. Hey, Penny. Sometimes I have to leave the room because she just won't eat. She just like starts looking at me and smiling. There's that.
Come play.
There's that shape I like. Excellent. Okay. So maybe before we start breaking down the thesis into the parts, I think it'd be good to talk about some of the ditches. You guys know me. I like to think about ditches because they help you think about what not to do. Like, how could we get this wrong? Maybe it would be good to just point at some of those up front. Basically, ways it would be easy to screw this conversation up. And the first one for me that comes to mind when we're thinking about the body pursuing strength and health and even beauty for God's glory is just the ditch of laziness.
Yeah.
If you're like us, you're intentional with how you care for your family, what they eat, read, even how they rest. But most people don't realize chronic magnesium deficiency is common. That's why we use Humble Love's Magnesium Cream. Made by a husband and wife team, it's crafted with real, nourishing ingredients. No synthetics ever. Safe for the whole family, gentle for kids, and strong enough to bring deep relief. Make it part of your daily routine by visiting thehumblelifestore.com. That's thehumblelifestore.com. And use code NCP15, that's all caps NCP15, for 15% off your first jar. When you have a busy house, the immediate demands of activities, events, and never-ending to-do lists can overshadow critical long-term decisions. Life insurance, financial planning, education savings, and retirement are continually backburnered. Joe Garrissey and his team from Backwards Planning Financial will help you maximize financial tools, management, and strategies so you can focus on your home and have confidence for your financial future. Visit backwardspanningfinancial.com. That is backwardspanningfinancial.com, or call 615-767-2555 to speak with Joe to develop a plan for the future. Look, Bright Hearth listeners, my lawyers have told me that I'm not allowed to guarantee that using Indigo Sundry Soap Company products will make you more attractive, but I am guaranteeing that that is true. If you're looking for premium handmade soaps without the seed oils or other nasty hormone disruptors, then you need to check out our partners at Indigo Sundry Soap Company. You can find them at indigosundrysoap.com. And hey, if you use code Bright Hearth, all caps Bright Hearth, you get 10% off your order. So check it out and subscribe to one of their regular deliveries today. A good morning sets the tone for the rest of the day. You read your Bible, review your to-do list, and drink a great cup of coffee. So why would you want bad-tasting, mass-produced coffee? Lux Coffee is a Christian-owned coffee roaster that offers intentionally sourced, single-origin coffee beans. They believe that convenience is the death of quality. That's why they spend their time roasting small batches of beans to make sure that every cup of coffee tastes delicious. Start your day with coffee that is crafted for the new Christendom. You can go to luxcoffee.co and use code NCP15, that's all caps, NCP15, for 15% off your handcrafted coffee. And of course, that link is in the description below.
That's not where I would have gone first, but I think it's because I'm a woman and you're a man.
Really?
Yeah.
What would be the first one you'd, maybe we can circle back.
Vanity.
That was
Vanity.
The second one I had.
Yeah, I figured it was, but.
Well, let's do it in that order then. What about Vanity? How is it a ditch?
Well, I mean, I've said this before with the head covering topic, is I think women sometimes feel owed to be adorable 24/7. It is their right
to be adorable,
and to be the most looked at and sought after and lusted after. I mean, we've talked about that. So yeah, I mean, I just, in this hypersexualized culture, I think that's probably something that women just really have to reckon with.
Yeah.
When pursuing this, you have to realize it is a temptation when trying to walk this line well.
Yeah. The second you start trying to these three things really go together: strength, health, and beauty. They all three are wrapped up together.
Yes.
In the physical body. And so it's very good to note like Paul says that there's no temptation that overcomes you that's not common to man. So it's helpful when you're thinking about a thing to just ask the question, how do people normally screw this up? And then to like move one step further and say, if people normally screw this up in this way, even if I don't feel particularly tempted in that direction right now, I should probably set a watch.
Watchfulness is the word I was going to use. Yeah, you have to be watchful for that sin to crop up.
So what do you think it is about, what is the sin then that women are prone to here in this area? And I'll talk about it from a male perspective too in a second, because this applies to men and women.
Wanting to be the most wanted, I guess. Like the biblical word for it, I think would it be vanity?
Yeah.
Or haughtiness even?
Yeah.
Pride. I'm thinking of is it in Isaiah where the Lord is like judging the proud daughters that were bedazzled basically. And
yes.
Strikes them with scabs. Like that's the worst possible thing you could think of if you're a vain woman.
Yes.
To be stricken by the Lord with scabs.
Yes, exactly. It's like, and there are verses about this, many of them. That's definitely one of the most shocking. Just in principle, Proverbs 31 warns that charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Like, you have to get it in the right order.
Well, and this is why it's an easy ditch to fall into, because it's easy to buy lipstick.
Yeah.
It's easy to buy new clothes. It's easy to get a haircut. It's not easy to cultivate the beauty of the inward heart and spirit, though.
This is what Peter's talking about in 1 Peter 3, this passage. Do not let your adorning be external, the braiding of hair and the putting on of gold jewelry or the clothing you wear, but let your adorning be the hidden person of the heart with imperishable beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which in God's sight is very precious. When we talk about beauty at the end of the episode, it's the last of the categories we'll talk about. We'll talk about why that passage and passages like it don't mean that beauty itself is bad and that men and women should not think at all about how they look. We'll talk about that. But here we need to start with the warning that the reason Paul or Peter is addressing this particularly to women in chapter 3 with this particular warning is that the scriptures tend to warn in the direction of common sins. Mm-hmm. So for men, it gives warnings in the Proverbs. It's mainly written to sons. And it's like, hey, son, don't be lured in by the prostitute. Son, don't join a gang and commit violence for the sake of ill gain. Hey, young men. And it gives all these warnings that they're there because young men are very much commonly tempted to do exactly all those things. So when you see a warning directed to women in particular, your ears should perk up and you should think, even if I don't think I'm prone to this, I need to be watchful for it. Mm-hmm. And vanity is one of those things. I need to be, the saying goes that men love to lust and women love to be lusted after. Mm-hmm. And that explains so much of the marketplace of sexual sin in our culture. You start to see that everywhere once you see it anywhere. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's funny because our culture is so sexually degenerate that we got all this LGBTQ stuff. We've got all this degeneracy. So that we even, like, Christians are even tempted to celebrate when you like have a return to a little bit of normalcy with like the Sydney Sweeney campaign for American Eagle with like the jeans and whatnot. It was super controversial for all the wrong reasons. People were like, oh, look, a beautiful woman is, instead of some weird obese lesbian advertising clothing. This is a step in the right direction. But it's funny because even the step in the right direction was like, still, look at my bosoms, everybody.
Yeah, and part of it was, you haven't seen the American Eagle campaign for years. No. They have specifically done androgynous flat-chested. That's been their models for years. Yeah. Because it's like unisex. It's their style of like Oxfords and button-ups. Well, if there's no chests involved, you can just have all of your models have your, the shirts unbuttoned, modeling them. But that was the going in the opposite direction of like, actually we like femininity now, but we're still displaying other parts we should not be displaying.
Yeah. Instead of like nailing it where it's modest, appropriate beauty on display, it's like, oh, okay. Softcore pornography. Yes. There we go. Yes. All right. So our culture is very crazy on this front. Mm-hmm. So Christians need to be all the more watchful when it comes to vanity. Our culture is extremely and exceedingly vain.
Yes.
So make sure you're not hearing us when we say that Christians should pursue strength and health and beauty. We explicitly do not mean vanity, and we'll talk about that more. Let me talk about that even from the male perspective a little bit.
Okay.
Because this is a ditch for men. It is the ditch of I'm going to pursue strength, but it's not going to be a strength that is for anybody. It's strength that is for my reflection in the mirror.
Yeah.
And so that people will think that I am the greatest, that I am the strongest, that I am the most attractive. It will get me women. I will be able to use it for the sake of my promiscuity. There are countless men who, and even I think about this in a disordered way, how do they get that strength? There's a kind of strength that I think is functional and good. And then there is a way, though, of saying, some men conclude then, I'm going to now spend 4 hours a day, 5 to 7 days a week in the gym.
Yes.
Pursuing the perfect sculpted body that is like so perfect that I could win a competition with it. Mm-hmm. And all right, yeah, sure. It's okay for people to have hobbies. It's okay for people to compete in things like strongman competitions. But even there are some things that I think Christian culture would probably put an end to over time. Like, I'm going to get in a banana hammock and do bodybuilding competitions where I have extremely unhealthy practices where I'm stacking tren and a bunch of other stuff, and this absolutely artificial strength that is not functional. It's not for anybody other than the mirror. That is also a ditch. That's vainglory. It's vanity. So it's not just women that are tempted to vanity of appearance. Obviously, men can be too. I mean, and men can do it in lots of ways. You can have a dandy, a man who's kind of effeminate and foppish, and he's like, dressing in this fussy kind of like. Men have always made fun of these kinds of men, but they always exist. This like dandy guy who's just so there's that too. It's unbecoming of a man to have an unseemly obsession with
his appearance.
His appearance and fashion and all these things. It's like why every red-blooded American man cringes when he sees that account of that guy who just critiques people's fashion. He's like, oh, Trump's tie is way too long here and this and that. And I'm like, there are rules of it's fine for there to be rules for different occasions and things like that. But the guy is like clearly a closeted homosexual or maybe open, I don't know. And you're just like, it's unseemly.
Yeah.
It's
cringe.
It's, as the kids say, it's cringe. So certainly self-worship, vanity, vainglory, a strength that's for nobody but the mirror, a beauty that's just intended to be the lure on a hook of lust. These are things that Christians should obviously not pursue and obviously need to set a watch for vanity. So one question I would have, Lexy, how can a woman set a watch for vanity? How can she actually be watchful against this?
I've heard the question be asked so many times. It's like, who are you dressing for? If you're married, is it for your husband or is it for other men?
Yeah.
If you're not married, I don't know. What question would you be asking? I guess I hadn't thought about that.
What's the occasion? What's appropriate?
There you go. Well, same thing. A married woman needs to be asking that too, because in my opinion, a strapless dress is not, well, we would probably say not appropriate anywhere, but definitely not appropriate for a Sunday morning, even if you're married or unmarried. But yeah, ask yourself those questions is, who are you thinking about? Because if you're dressing for your husband, then you need to be asking his opinion. I mean, I brought that skirt home yesterday and I was like, hey, look, I need your opinion on this. This is why I like it. I know you may not like it. Is it appropriate? Is it not? And you're like, it's fine. You can keep it. But are you having those conversations regularly with your husband or not? For both ends of the spectrum, for the sense of like, he might not like that I wear jeans and black t-shirts all the time. Maybe I should get his opinion on what colors he thinks I look good in, what styles he likes. Does he like dresses? Does he not like dresses? All men like dresses, by the way.
All straight men.
And if they say they don't, they're lying too. So yeah, there's the person that needs to learn to dress better. And then there's the person who might be thinking about it too much and they need to ask, their husband to weigh in a little bit more on. Yeah.
And traditionally, one of the ways that a woman might guard against this is simplicity, is intentionally not bedecking herself with the greatest amount of display of
uniqueness,
beauty, and
randomness,
but actually withholding some of it. This is the question of a guarded glory versus a glory that's open to all.
Yes.
So there are rings, and there are times when a woman, like on her wedding day, a woman ought to be, she is a glory that's on display, and that's good and fitting of that occasion. And then there are other occasions where it is good for her to be lovely and feminine, and yet not seeking to be the center of everybody's universe and attention. So
I remember there was a hat. I don't remember the hat, but I remember there was a hat a couple years ago. It was summer, and I was like, "Oh, I really like this hat. What do you think about it?" And you said you were like, "No, that's too much for Sunday. You may not wear that." And I felt like that was an example of like, yeah, that's not what that's for.
It wasn't what it's for.
It's not to call attention.
Yeah, we need to ask.
Remember what kind of
the way that I think about this is that we need to be asking the Lord what He thinks, the relevant authority, like a husband, what he thinks. So your husband might approve of something the Lord doesn't, and that doesn't mean you wear it. It's like, no, you obey the Lord. So would the Lord be pleased with what I'm wearing? Is it modest? Is it chaste? Is it appropriate for the occasion? Does my husband like it? Is it, does he think, is he agreeing that this displays our family name well and, it's appropriate, it's not overly sexual, that other people are going to be looking and lusting after you, that you're not at least putting an undue temptation? People can sin and lust after a woman dressed very chastely and modestly. That's not her fault. That needs to be said.
That's true. Yeah, that's very, very true.
But she needs to be thinking about, does it please the Lord? Does it please my husband? And kind of going down that list. And really, this is an issue where you have to reflect on your heart and just keep, when you're being watchful on the thoughts and intentions of your heart. What am I attempting to do? Am I really before God trying to please the Lord with this? Or am I trying to please myself and be lusted after?
And you have to be honest
or
about
envied.
It. You have to be honest.
Because women, it's not always lusted after. Sometimes it's envied by women, by other women.
That's true.
That's certainly
that's true.
A ditch. Okay. I also want to say just briefly remember the concept of range that we introduced in the last episode, because it's very important to this conversation, that for most categories, you have been assigned a range for what is possible for you to achieve by God himself in his providence. So some people, the upper end of their range of intelligence is still going to be, they're going to be 100 IQ. They're just never going to be a genius. Some people have a range where they could be highly intelligent and with application even highly useful and more intelligent. Everybody has a range, and the goal here, with the body in particular, as we're talking about, isn't to win a gold medal as measured against everybody else in an Olympic competition. It's simply in faithfulness and discipline to seek to live closer to the upper end of the range that God has assigned for you, within reason and proportion. So if I said, yes, in my range of physical fitness, I could run a 4-minute mile with the right application. I'm not going to win a gold medal of the Olympics, but I could run a 4.5 minute mile. However, to do that would require me working out or spending 2 to 3 hours a day training and thinking every waking minute about nutrition. You don't need to pursue the top end of that range. It's not, because it wouldn't be in proportion to your other duties unless that's how you make a living. So I want to live somewhere in the top half of the range. I'm being proportionally strong and healthy and pursuing these things, but it's in proportion with my duties.
Yes.
Contextually. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, that totally makes sense. I mean, I've thought about this a lot with this specific season I'm in. I would love, my goal is to be able to strength train 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And it's just not in this season of life.
Sure.
3 days is totally doable. 4 days, nursing, the amount of duties I have during the day, it physically drains me. It doesn't give for me at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be different when I'm not nursing a baby, but I have to be realistic. It's unreasonable for me to expect that much of my body in this specific season of life.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great practical example for a homemaker of how you look at this thing and you say, and the thing is, the more you get into it, the more you get into something like working out and lifting, it's enjoyable.
Yes.
You like it. You want to hit the next goal. But you have to restrain yourself from hitting, in this area, the top end of my range, so that I can holistically hit a healthy end of range of excellence.
In all areas.
All of my vocation.
Yeah,
duties.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's very, very important in this conversation, even in beauty, if you think about it.
Oh, yes.
So
you can go forever on this.
Yeah. Addressing it for men, for a man being handsome, a man being physically attractive. A man should recognize that it is, of course, not an evil desire in itself to want to be presentable and to want to be able to attract a spouse and be attractive to them, to want to present yourself in a way fitting the occasion. But you have to recognize that, maybe the upper range of your physical attractiveness, humanly speaking, is that you could become a solid 6.5. Great. With neglect and laziness, you could become a 2, right? You could be I weigh 600 pounds and don't bathe, and I'm a 1. I'm a 2. Great. You have a range there. A man needs to go, I'm okay with that. I'm content with that. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be envious of somebody who could be an 8 or a 9 or a 10 even. I'm not going to be envious of the most handsome guy in the church. Instead, I'm going to be content and pleased and say, Lord, you did me a kindness when you assigned to me this face, this body, this everything. You were kind to me when you did that. It was for my good. It wasn't to harm me. And I think women definitely need to hear that as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And just like the way we gain weight, places we gain weight,
Yep.
way we do or don't. Because I know women can feel self-conscious about this the other way. Like, you're not gaining enough for the baby. Yeah, you just have to be content with, like, this is the body the Lord gave me. And it's also my human work to figure out how to work with it.
Yeah, we read that verse in the cold open from 2 Corinthians 4, that we don't lose heart, though our outer self is wasting away. Our inner self is being renewed day by day. Because one of the ways we can fall in a ditch here is by artificially clinging to the kind of body or beauty or strength or health even of a 20-year-old for as long as humanly possible. Mm-hmm. And then even like getting plastic surgeries and doing all of these things, or to basically pretend like we don't age and we're not limited and we're not mortal and we're not heading like this is certainly a ditch that we need to be aware of, is that our culture will tell us that we are less valuable. For example, that the 65-year-old woman who maybe, though healthy and physically fit for her age and even beautiful for her age, that she is less valuable in the marketplace than the 20-year-old because she's no longer as beautiful as the 20-year-old.
Yeah. And I always think of C.S. Lewis talking about, if you're always living for a different glory, you're missing the glory of the season that you're in.
Yes.
And for women, I mean, I guess it's the same for men. I don't know. But it could be endless. It could be endless spa appointments, endless esthetician appointments, endless massages, endless haircut appointments, extensions. Like, you can truly go as deep into this as you want to.
Yeah.
And you have to be limited by time, your abilities, your finances.
Yep.
Like, there's so much contentedness to pursue in there that, while on the flip side of it being like, but it is also, you can learn how to put on mascara better. You can learn how to put on eyeshadow. You can learn color theory.
Yeah. We won't go there. It reminds me of what Lewis wrote about Susan Pevensey in the Narniad, where Susan, it said, she spent all of her childhood trying to get to the age that she was, which was like 20. And then for the rest of her life, she would spend all of her life trying to cling to being that age. And she was an example of vanity, where she just wanted to be a beautiful, young, attractive woman that everybody was interested in. And there's a time in life where for a woman, it's fitting, a young woman, it's absolutely fitting for maybe an 18, 19, 20, 22, 24-year-old young woman who's single and unmarried to be the interest of attention from a lot of young men who are all interested. Like, let's say she's a beautiful, godly, chaste woman. Many young men are going to be interested in her. And that's not a sin. That God made the world like that. Mm-hmm. And yet she can grow accustomed to that.
Yeah.
And then she gets married, and then she has children, and then she starts to feel like she's losing out because that season of life passed.
Yeah, she wants that attention somewhere else. Yeah. So she's going to start being tempted to dress provocatively.
Or my social media is going to be an obvious just thirst trap, or like of some variety. Even a trad thirst trap.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and she's married and she has kids, but what she's seeking is that same level of validation that wasn't wrong at that season. It was befitting that season. Mm-hmm. But it's no longer befitting. So she's making a mistake. She's misunderstanding what her body is for, what her beauty was for. It was for something. It's now for her husband. It's to be given away in pursuit of, like, legit. We lie about this too as a culture, where we try to kind of like, we lie in a way that shows that we're actually believing a deeper lie. The deeper lie is that sex appeal is the most important thing about a woman or a man. And so we lie in all sorts of smaller ways. And we say, oh, she's just as attractive as that other woman. That really obese woman is just as attractive as that young, fit, beautiful woman. Or, oh, the grandma is she's no less beautiful than she was when she was 20. And the reality is, like, those things just aren't true. Like, physical attractiveness is a real thing, and it really has meaning, and it has a range. And a man or a woman at their peak sexual years, they are maximally attractive in their lifespan. And when they're not, like, and to use an extreme example, when you're 90 and on your deathbed, you're not as handsome as a man as you were when you were 25 and strapping. Like, and God made the world that way in this age and in this cursed world in this age. God ordained that it would be such. And we lie to one another because we believe the deeper lie that the most important and most valuable thing about us is sex. Well, that's actually not true. If you believe that about your body, you will make all sorts of other errors with your body as you go about life. Okay, so we need to avoid vanity. We need to avoid laziness, though, and a failure of discipline in seeking to live at the top end of our range or towards like maximally useful for the vocations we have. Let's talk specifically about how this works with those three categories in that thesis: strength, health, and beauty.
Okay.
So we said that the Christian should, with discipline, seek to have a body that is physically strong. Why? Why does that matter? And why is that not just vanity?
Because doing your duties well often requires strength.
Yes.
If you're trying to do them excellently, you often have a lot of responsibilities, which it just does require strength.
Physical strength.
And energy. There's no way around it. If you're tired
Right.
and need to take a nap all the time, you're probably not going to put forth the effort to be hospitable. It just is what it is.
Yeah. Our physical bodies are vehicles that we carry out virtue or shame in. And many of our duties require physical strength and endurance. So serving other people as a homemaker absolutely requires physical strength and endurance, energy. As a man, pursuing your duties so that you can, even thinking about longevity, a man or a woman pursuing their duties so that they can be available to their grandchildren, or so that a man can support his wife into her old age. If he's broken down in body at age 45 and obese and not strong and he's all sorts of health problems, he is going to be a burden to his wife, not a blessing.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody understands that we are aware that some people have medical conditions or diseases or chronic conditions that prevent them from being physically strong. And if that's you, then you say, we thank God even for the hard providences.
Yes.
We ask for his healing, and we do the best with the hand we've dealt, thinking of the range there. But we're talking about the average normal person in a normal, ordinary situation.
Yeah, we talked about, remember, assume you are the person the rule is explaining. Don't automatically, even the people that are in abnormal circumstances, they still have ways that they can grow and glorify God, even in those circumstances.
Yeah. There are so many practical, in-the-world studies that demonstrate the importance of physical strength. Things like one of the biggest indicators of longevity, being able to fruitfully and joyfully go about your life with the ability to be a normal person as long as possible, are things like how big are your leg muscles? How big are your glutes? How strong is your lower body? Because that's going to be indicative of whether you're going to be able to walk and get around and visit friends or serve your grandkids.
And if you're mentally there and able to, be involved and not, Yep.
So strength is important. Maybe talk a little bit about that, strength and longevity as a homemaker.
Well, Eric posted about this a couple months ago, maybe now. He was talking about Jerry's step count on an average day at home. Like, I actually had, just because of the way our season of life is working, I have to get pretty much all of our like house cleaning done on Mondays. So I'm just present and available for whatever needs to happen the rest of the week. But what I realized 2 weeks ago was that I couldn't strength train on Mondays then, because the amount of calories required to do both that and home, I was not able to keep up with the home.
And nurse.
Produce
milk for a human being.
I was just too exhausted by the end of the day that it didn't work.
Yeah.
So I had to realize, like, it just shows how physical the work of a homemaker is. Yeah. And so that's me actively trying to pursue this. There's also been seasons of life where it's the opposite of, like, because I wasn't doing the good work of working out, I then didn't have the available energy to do the things during the day that I needed to do.
Yeah.
So that's like the laziness part of it, I guess, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Of just realizing, and I think sometimes we can wait for that. We're just waiting to get our energy back. But the reality is, and science proves this in so many different ways, you have to just get over that hump, the inertia. You just have to get over it. And then suddenly it will come rushing in. And I don't care what your thyroid, cortisol, whatever. It will work itself out if you jump on the exercise horse first.
That's right.
I am sorry, walking is not enough. And I am sorry, diastasis recti exercises are not enough. If that's where you are and you've been there for 2+ years, it's your own fault. You need to move on. You don't have the right DR program if that's where you're stuck still.
Yeah.
You just don't.
Wives, you know your husband would fight for your family without hesitation. But every knight needs armor, and in today's world, that means ballistic protection made for the modern defender. Armored Republic makes real armor for real men, law-abiding citizens, fathers, husbands, protectors. Visit armoredrepublic.com. That's armoredrepublic.com, or text JOIN, all caps JOIN, to 88027 and help your husband stand strong. Hey there, friends. Let me tell you about Gray Toad Tallow. They're a family-owned small business passionate about creating skincare products that nourish your skin with pure, wholesome ingredients. For centuries, tallow has been valued for its moisturizing and healing properties, and Gray Toad Tallow is dedicated to sharing these benefits with your family. They strive to keep their products affordable and accessible, aiming to be a blessing to you and your family. Visit graytoadtallow.com to learn more and try a balm sample pack. And don't forget to use code BRIGHT15, that's all caps, BRIGHT15, for 15% off your order. Thanks for supporting this great small business. Ready to feel like yourself again? Rebecca Belch, founder of Live Oak Integrative Health, is a board-certified functional medicine provider helping women and families achieve lasting generational health. Using advanced testing and personalized care, she uncovers the root causes and builds sustainable plans for every stage of life. And Bright Hearth listeners can get $50 off any of 3 packages. So head to liveoakintegrativehealth.com to schedule your free call and make sure you tell her that Bright Hearth sent you for $50 off one of 3 packages. This cold and flu season, fortify your defenses naturally with the Kings Ridge elderberry syrup and elderberry products. They grow the freshest elderberries at their Indiana farm, cold press them into the tastiest syrup around, and they're packed with antioxidants and vitamins to boost your immune system. Use code BRIGHTHEARTH, that's all caps, BRIGHTHEARTH, for 10% off your first order at tkrfarm.com. That's tkrfarm.com. The Kings Ridge elderberry syrup. Taste the difference, help push back the curse. In next episode, we're going to talk real practically about strength, health, like some of these things, how to achieve them and work for them. The principle, though, I'm thinking of here is that provided something's not unlawful in itself, like, for example, if you could live to 200 years by sucking the blood of innocent children, like that would be bad. But provided something's lawful, if that thing will help you to do your duties for as long as possible with strength and vigor, that thing is probably good.
So I would say like hormone replacement therapy falls in this.
It can be permissible and good and helpful and some things like that, but also just on a more basic and foundational level, things like strength training.
Okay.
So there were many times in history where the normal vocations of men and women included enough difficult resistance work that they didn't necessarily need to do training with dumbbells or whatever. But in our day, a lot of us, most of us, I would say, 98% of us, need to have some sort of resistance training to seek strength. But again, why? The point of this episode is why? So that you can have longevity in doing your duties. And that is going to require that in your youth, it's very important that you're consistent in these things. God built this principle into almost every aspect of life, that long, consistent obedience produces better results than waiting until the last minute and then doing. So, for example, if you don't strength train at all until you're 50, you will have less good outcomes than if you were from your 20s. Maybe you're 40 or 50 and you never have, and you're like, I'm going to start now. Hey, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Mm-hmm. So get going on it. Don't be discouraged by that. But if you're young, don't let, I have lots of kids. I've got all these stresses, so therefore I can afford not to do it now. No, get a reasonable amount of strength training in your life, even if it's 2 or 3 times a week for 30 minutes, if you have the right stuff, and we'll get practical next time on some of that. Now, pitfalls in seeking strength. We've talked about them a little bit, but vanity and disproportionality are pitfalls for sure. If you are hey babe, I can't be present with the kids at all this week because every day of the week I have this 2 to 3 hour gym routine that just prevents it. Well, you're actually failing in another duty. So figure out ways. Lexi and I started working out together some of the time in the week. The kids are often around when we're doing it. Like we go and we do athletically difficult stuff with friends a couple times a week often. Tennis, basketball, flag football with kids. Like there's lots of stuff. Knitting, for example. Okay, health related. Why should we seek health? And what is health? Like, what are we talking about when we say a Christian should, with discipline, seek health?
Okay, so I would say it's like general bodily good feeling that leads you to be able to live out your duties.
Yeah.
If you have a stomach ache all the time, it's hard to live out your duties.
Yeah.
If you're itchy all the time, it's hard to live out your duties. Ask me how I know.
Yeah. It's true.
That's what like, and I think of that prayer. I think it was Paul that was like, I pray that you'll be prospered in body and soul.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like soul's prospered for good works, but the body is also prospered for good works. So
in a narrow sense and an acute sense, it's being like free from injury or illness. So you're not ill and you don't have an injury. You're healthy.
Your disease means the body is at dis-ease. So
there you go. It's not working. Something about it that is supposed to function in a certain way isn't functioning that way. In a more long-term and overall sense of physical bodily health, we're talking about maximizing the ability of the body to do this thing. So you might not be unhealthy in the sense that like your muscles don't work at all, but but if you're a 25-year-old capable male and you couldn't bench press 60% of your weight, you're not healthy. There's something, you don't have a chronic injury or illness yet, but there's a condition that if it's left like in that state for long term, you will very likely be. So this is also related to sleep, food, exercise, even things like social, like your mind and spirit matters a lot to this. We'll talk about that as well. But when we say a Christian should with discipline seek health, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about health, wealth, and prosperity, that if you have enough faith, you'll never be sick or you'll always be physically healthy. God in his providence permits and even appoints for us difficult providences that include illness, disease. Some of us will get cancer. Some of us will have a genetic or autoimmune disease. Some of us will have an injury that really makes it difficult. But normally speaking, we should be pursuing with our nutrition, with our physical activity, with all these things, with sleep, health. What are some pitfalls when it comes to seeking health?
Anxiety.
Big one.
Anxiety is probably the biggest one of like thinking you can control, realizing you're out of control. So anxiety results, but thinking you can control the outcome by just doing enough things, taking enough supplements, eating clean enough, eating enough, eating less. I don't know, eating certain foods, eating not certain foods. All of those things, it can lead to anxiety, which is worse on the body because a cheerful heart is good medicine. Anxiety is sin to the body and it is death to the body. Yeah. So that's a huge, huge ditch to stay out of.
Absolutely. I think another ditch that can be related to this is hyper maximalizing, where you're seeking. There's this guy that I've seen a couple times pop up. He's like, he gets 30 or 60 things measured every month about himself. And he's seeking with all sorts of supplements and practices to like make himself. A lot of them say like what age he is in body. Oh, you're chronologically 35, but your body is more like a 21-year-old in this metric, hormones and various stuff. Okay. But it's to the point where he is like hyper maximalizing all of these things. And it's like if you do it the way he is, it's like the only thing you can do.
Because he's trying to be as efficient as possible.
He's trying to keep, it's like, it reminds me of what Jesus says when he says, those who seek to keep their life lose it. Yes. Because he's seeking to keep his life as long as possible. But then what is his life? It's just his life is keeping his life.
That's it.
Okay.
There's nothing there.
Yeah. Like, what are you for?
Yeah.
Be poured out. Get a skin knee. Get the cold. Go to the social event where you're likely to get sick during sick season because you want to fellowship with people.
Yeah.
Like
I've thought
eat
about
the thing
this
at the
before
table.
as a mother, like peanut butter and jellies aren't much protein, so my kids rarely get them. As a matter of fact, they request them for birthdays.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, peanut butter disrupts your gut lining. Why would I give you that? There's not enough protein in there. Why would I give you that? And you're going to be hungry in 20 minutes. Why would I give you that?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the other end of the spectrum of like, life is so busy that sometimes a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is the most appropriate thing I could give to you right now.
Yes. Health needs to be set in its context and proportional. So we do seek it, and we'll talk practically as well about nutrition, some of these things that help, but it needs to be proportional. The last one, though, I think is the most controversial because there are passages that tell us, like, warn us against external adornment, that true beauty is inner beauty. But we're saying Christians should seek beauty or comeliness, or they should seek within that range of what God has assigned to you. You should seek to be attractive physically. You should seek to have a body that is in some way attractive. Now, what do we mean by that? And how is that not just telling people to be vain?
When you are attractive, you are at ease with yourself, and others are around you are at ease with you as well. It's sort of awkward, but like, the woman who clearly doesn't feel good about herself. She kind of dresses in pajamas. Her hair is always greasy. And it is genuinely awkward to be around her. It is a stumbling block that she's putting before other people because they just kind of generally feel sorry for her. And as a woman, we are called to be crowns.
Yeah.
And so when you're not looking like that, it doesn't serve people around you. Instead of people being like, wow, women are beautiful. I'm so glad God made them this way. She's clearly well loved. It's more of like, ooh,
yeah,
I feel bad for her. Her mom didn't teach her.
Yeah.
Her husband doesn't care for her. Her dad doesn't care for her. That's what we feel, whether or not we know that that's what it is. Some of us process it less or more so, but that is what is happening.
Yeah.
And that's why it's actually a kindness to be willing to put a little effort into walking out the door, even if you're going to Walmart.
The way that I think about this is that beauty, and when I say beauty, I'm talking about men being handsome, women being beautiful and lovely, all of that. It's mainly, when it's pursued correctly, it's mainly the result of obedience to God in a lot of other small things of discipline and concern for others. Mm-hmm. So I would think about it like this. Let's say you look at a lovely woman, you say she's a beautiful woman. And I'm not saying like she's a supermodel, she's 1 out of 10,000 type of beauty. I just mean like we have lots of women in the church you look and say they're lovely, they're beautiful women, and just it's an ordinary kind of normal beauty that all or many of the women, that's just how it is. Why is that? And you'd look at any one woman and you wouldn't be like, oh yeah, because she's a supermodel on this level. What is it? Well, these are women who they love, they're cheerful. They have a cheerful face. They dress appropriately for the occasion. They care about those around them. They are they want to look like a woman, not a man. So they're dressed femininely, but they want to be chaste and modest. So they're not dressing in a way that says everybody pay attention to me. They're saying I appreciate and respect the context of where I am, the church service or this gathering, and so I want to adorn it. They're women who holistically, inwardly and outwardly, are saying, like the psalmist, that let your daughters be like a pillar or a cornerstone in the wall of the temple of the palace, of a palace wall, which is a beautiful thing, but it's a thing that fits in with the whole structure. And there's so many different aspects of it that actually don't come from those women first waking up every morning and thinking, how can I be the most beautiful woman in the room? But how can I love and serve everybody around me? And then also related to that, when it comes to some particular duties, women have a duty, and men too, in marriage, it's a sexual duty. And it just is the case that if you don't take care of yourself, neglect yourself, are lazy, don't care about looking at all for your spouse a certain way, that you're actually failing in love. If you're failing in the golden rule, you're not treating them the way you'd want to be treated.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
they are also thinking, how can I be attractive for my spouse? And then in appropriate contexts, when it's just them, it's an unveiled glory, like nakedness without shame. It's an unveiled glory where in all of those things, think of all the discipline of nutrition and strength and doing your duties and the inward discipline of joy instead of bitterness and not nagging, but having a beautiful countenance and all these things. That's what we mean when we say seeking beauty. We're talking about a holistic beauty that is not self-aggrandizing or vain, but it's seeking to serve everybody around it. And that is beautiful. And sure, within there's a range where some people are going to be, physically speaking, very attractive, and some people are going to be less attractive. But all of us can be fittingly attractive for what God put in front of us. And I truly believe that in many ways, people are not born ugly, but become ugly.
Yes. Oh, for
by
sure.
sin and neglect and laziness and a lack of virtue.
Yes, I agree 100%.
So that's what we're going to be talking about in this bodily portion. We're going to get very specific and practical about some of these things. But let's just end this episode with a note on those last two qualifiers of what all this is for. Because we said that this was Christians ought to, with discipline, seek bodily strength, health, and beauty for God's glory and the good of their people. So why does it glorify God for Christians to seek these things in the way that we just described?
So I'm going to go back to the whole crown analogy again, because being beautiful says something about those who care for us. Okay, so it says something about our God. It says that we are well covered and cared for. I don't have to go get some beautiful, elaborate, obnoxious covering. My Father has covered me. The flip side of that is I am covered, so I should not uncover myself.
Yeah.
You are actually saying, like, woman who comes to church dressed immodestly, shows up at the barbecue dressed immodestly. You are saying, I am not covered. My Father does not care for me.
Yeah. That's right.
Deal with that.
Your clothing is speech. How we present ourselves is speech.
Correct. We're making a statement about our fathers, our Heavenly Father, and our husbands.
That's so true. Yeah.
And then the other thing is that I think about this in terms of my children. This is when it really like sunk in for me for the first time before thinking about head covering and being a crown. It was like, what is a vision of beauty that I'm putting before my sons and my daughters? Is it that I look like the androgynous American Eagle model or the Gap model? Those are the two that come to mind immediately. Or is it that mom is actually feminine and chaste, and that's beautiful? If the only place your boys see beauty is in the checkout line of the magazines in the checkout line, you're doing something wrong. Yeah. They should be able to go, I actually don't like that very much. My mom is beautiful though. She clearly loves my dad and she's willing to get dressed up for him.
Yeah, that's right.
And same thing for the daughters. Like if they only see you walking around in a jumper all of the time, their temptation is going to be like, because then they're going to think like, well, dad probably doesn't care for her very much. Mom obviously doesn't like dad very much because she's not putting forth very much effort. Yeah. So either two things are going to happen. She's not going to realize it is a good work to be beautiful, to put in time to get your hair washed, to get your hair brushed. Yeah. I mean, guys, I have multiple little girls that love to play outside and they do not like to brush their hair.
They're always like, oh.
But the other side of it is like, I've seen women too go the opposite where it's like, well, my mom was obese, so now I am hyper obsessed with my weight.
Totally.
I'm hyper obsessed with my beauty. Yeah. I like to get all the attention from men because they saw and were repulsed by the image that their mother put off. Yeah. And so now they're trying to go to the opposite end of the spectrum, which is also not good. So I am thinking in terms of I want to be beautiful and feminine and chaste because I want my children to learn that chastity is beautiful, that mom does not have to walk around in a bikini. Yeah. That's not what mom is for. She is for beauty. She is for the Lord. She is for my Father. And she is chaste because of all those things. Right. But she's not that.
Yeah, that's right. When we're together all glorifying God and seeking the glory of God, it's just going to look like we're virtuous, disciplined people who repent of our sin. And there's an aspect of that will look like a certain kind of weakness, like what Paul is talking about when he says, I'm weak, then I'm strong. But he's not talking about an intentional weakness of the body. He's talking about a recognition that humble recognition before God that all of us depend for all things upon the Lord, and that we are dust, we are mortal, our lives are vanishing, they're very short, we're to be poured out. We don't exist for a kind of like self-serving vain strength. We exist for God's glory, and we depend upon God for our daily bread, our daily grace, all of that. But if we think about it and we flipped all of this on its head and we said, would it glorify God if Christians were they were intentionally physically weak, they were intentionally physically sickly, and they were intentionally ugly? Does that actually bring glory to God? And the answer is no. So we need to start with the most important thing, which is virtue and inward beauty. But then from that, what naturally results from virtue? What naturally results from inward strength and all these things? A certain kind of durable strength, health, and beauty that is good medicine that's reflected in the whole person, including the body. And Paul, you better believe, was strong. Paul walked across the entire Mediterranean for the sake of the gospel. The Lord Jesus was, you better believe it, physically strong. The apostles, the disciples, they were physically strong. These women that were praised for their love and service in the church, you better believe that they had physical strength they were giving away. And so we just have to have a balanced and reasonable holistic view of these things that's just totally reasonable and normal, not veering off into any of the ditches. But we definitely want to make sure that in our Gnostic age that we don't deny the goodness of the body, and in our hypersexual age that we don't make youthful sex appeal the most important aspect of our being. And so that's what we're seeking to talk about in this series, that kind of normal, ordinary approach to the body. Okay, so it's for the God's glory, it's for the good of your people that you can do your duties with longevity and glorify God. Any last thoughts on this before we close it out for this episode?
Nope, I don't think so.
Excellent. Okay, well, thanks for listening, guys. We hope that this series here as we begin to dip our toe into it is helpful to all of you. Like I said, if you have questions on these things, please send them in with the send us a text button, and that will help shape the different episodes we do. We're going to be doing another episode on the body, getting a little bit more practical in the next one as we jump in. But thanks you guys for listening. If you want to support the show, we'd encourage you to pick up a copy of Lexy's book, Wisdom on Her Tongue, at newchristendompress.com/wisdom, or to become a monthly supporter on Patreon. And like I said there at the beginning of the episode, there are all sorts of different benefits. You get early and ad-free episodes. We have a special episode called In the Kitchen for patrons there that we've been releasing and will continue to release just for supporters there as a thank you. But until next time, guys, Lord bless you. We'll catch you next time on Bright Hearth.